Hey beautiful people, this video looks at the definition of done in the Agile context. Now a number of you are using Agile frameworks and methodologies and approaches to whatever level you're using them, and the incorporation of definition of done is a very powerful framework that if you do it effectively can actually increase your chances of success and de-risk some of your project efforts. So I want to talk about how DoD functions inside Agile frameworks, not just as part of a checklist, but as an alignment practice. And it connects delivery, satisfaction, and iteration velocity. So in Agile, DoD is a shared, agreed upon list of criteria that a story or increment must meet to be considered done. It also helps to ensure that the work delivered at the end of a sprint is ready to be delivered, used, or validated, not just checked off. So what you're doing when you think about DoD and weaving it into the fabric of your Agile work is you're actually using it as a way of building alignment and shared understanding, not just check boxes on lists. Where it lives in Agile is it can live in the sprint planning where it guides the work that can be realistically accepted. So as you start doing your sprint planning, you're doing a number of pretty complex things. You're figuring out kind of the integrity of the sprint, the scope of the sprint, the delivery of the sprint. And you also really want to make sure that you have an understanding of the capacity of the people who are running in the sprint. So as you start thinking of definition of done, sometimes you're looking at your DoD at a couple of levels higher, and you're trying to figure out, okay, how will this sprint and two other sprints contribute to that DoD? Or you have the ability to be able to, in some instances, bring your DoD level down to align directly with the sprint. Either way, it's a great filter for contextualizing the work that you're doing in a sprint and making sure that those things are in alignment. For the daily stand-ups, one of the things I found it's useful for is that we begin to weave in and build in a practice of consideration of how certain surface blockers or how certain decisions that we're making might actually impact our done status. So if we understand done not just in terms of checking in code and not just in terms of checking boxes or checking tasks or defining tasks as done, but we're actually looking at it in terms of our overall definition of done, then what we're doing is we're also bringing in each individual's understanding of what that means. So we're making it live for them in the work that they are doing. And we're reinforcing that through our daily stand-ups. As we do the sprint reviews, it also helps us to provide criteria for demo readiness. So at some level, our definition of done is really ultimately focused on delivering on a demo, particularly in the software development space. And the sprint reviews allow us to be able to use that as a criteria or as a filter for whether or not we are getting closer to our goal of demo readiness. For the retrospectives, it also allows us to evaluate how smart we are, how practiced we are, how wise we are about how we're setting up our sprints and how we're defining our sprints. And it allows us to be able to see whether or not the sprints that we're building are actually moving us closer towards a higher level definition of done, because we're using it again as a filter, and we're using it as almost a design element as we start thinking about our sprints and how they stack up on each other. The benefits of a clear definition of done in Agile, it means that we have shared expectations across roles, we have reduced ambiguity during delivery, and we can also have higher quality demos and releases because we're using the DoD almost like a true north, like a compass bearing for ourselves. And again, we are filtering our decision making and our scoping and our design through a deeper understanding of that. What it'll also do, and I've seen it do this, is it will precipitate conversations that kind of poke away at the DoD, and sometimes many times it'll result in us rethinking what that DoD really looks like as we evolve our understanding, as we start delivering on a number of different sprints. We also build stronger trust with product owners and stakeholders. So if we can contextualize the work that we're doing in the context of definition of done at a level 2 or 3 levels above us, what we're doing is we're helping them understand how individual pieces of functionality or individual sprints contribute to the higher level definition of done. Not the definition of done necessarily for the entire project, but certainly at a team or a department level. And that'll allow them to be able to begin to have a better understanding of the components and the functionality of the different modules or different elements that we're building as they relate to their experience in a demo or their overall understanding of DoD, and it'll help evolve their understanding of DoD as well. So if we start thinking of DoD as being something that is to some extent alive and dynamic within our projects, then what we're doing is we're referencing it, we're using it as a lens, we're weaving it into our project management capabilities. And we then put ourselves in a position where increasing the alignment between ourselves and our customers at the top level and cascading all the way down to a team lead or a project lead. And it allows us all to also to be able to build shared alignment cross-functionally around what it is that we're building as it relates to a particular DoD. So common pitfalls that I've seen happen without strong, coherent, aligned definitions of done is work can remain in progress indefinitely. And we all know what that does to a project. It means that we are kind of carrying this extra baggage with us all the time, that it's something that is sort of nagging away at the side of our consciousness because that is our backlog and it continues to grow and grow and grow. And if we don't use the DoD as a filter to begin to think about what really is in the backlog and what can be just either eliminated altogether or really needs to be accelerated and moved into a sprint, then we begin to have different kinds of conversations. Without it, demos get vague and embarrassing. I think we've all been in that position where the chasm between what our customer is looking to experience and what it is that we are delivering. I shouldn't laugh at it, I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I've had one of those horrendous gaps, and this just reminds me of some of them when I was younger. So over time we get smarter about crossing that chasm or minimizing that chasm and building a stronger understanding between what it is that our customer is looking for and what it is we're truly able to deliver. The other thing that I think is really important for us to consider, and I've talked about this in a number of the other videos as well, is we're not just looking at whether or not our project team can deliver on something. And if we are being short-sighted and naive. Delivering on something is incredibly valuable. I'm not saying that it isn't for 1 second. But if our team is not building capacity while they are delivering, we are setting ourselves up for overwhelm and burnout and erosion of our delivery capability over time. So one of the things that this alignment of DoD within the Agile framework really allows us to do is we can reduce our risk of burnout from overcommitment and from silent work. So as our heroes on the project, and many projects have many heroes, as our heroes on the project try and bridge that gap that they are intuitively, peripherally, or consciously aware of between what the customer is looking for and what we're able to deliver. They will do extra work. They will do silent work. They will do silent work that has to do with kind of shoring up aspects of the project that they know are not delivering well, not as planned, not functioning effectively, and they will go the extra mile, but the extra mile won't necessarily be seen or acknowledged or really even appreciated or understood. So we overestimate our capacity when that happens, and we set ourselves up for continued failure as we try and drag ourselves through a project in order to be able to deliver something of value to the customer. So weaving the DoD into how you think about Agile and how you manage your Agile sprints and how you think about the framework and the methodology, and you recognize that the capacity to be able to have those conversations is critically important for success, will put you on a path to reduce some of these pitfalls that really undermine the success of any project. The thing that we also see as a project kind of unravels over time because we have not done things like include DoD in our Agile practices, in our project management practices, in our Agile development practices, is we see that our sprint velocity estimates become unreliable. The data itself becomes unreliable because we have all of the factors that I mentioned above happening over time. And when that begins to happen, people tend to try and fix it, try and work harder, do the silent work. But what's really missing is the structural element of not having a full appreciation or practices for management around DoD as we work through the Agile process. So as you start thinking about your projects from the perspective of human coordination and leveraging practices like DoD, really encourage you to look at some of the other videos that I've done on this topic. And also there's a free white paper that I think will be valuable for you, which is called Execution by Design. There's a link to it down below in the comments. There's also a link to it on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com/execution. I'd love to know what it is that you think about it. I'd love to know, as you start experimenting with this in some small way or in big ways, let me know how it's working for you, and let me know whether or not this thinking is helping you with de-risking your projects and increasing your chances of delivering not just successful projects, but growing the capacity of your team over time and moving closer to high performance, high functioning teams. I admire you in what it is that you're doing to look to get better at this. I'm here to support you, and I wish you the best of luck.